What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Chocolate saying, trying to join. Oh no, I've accidentally not allowed him to join. Maybe we won't be joined by Chocolate saying. I'm really sorry, Chocolate. That was an accident on my part. I'm really sorry. We're also joined by Arwin, Adam Meakin, Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man Rising, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Not the greatest start to the show. Hopefully, Chocolate, you can rejoin somehow. Press the wrong button on your Chocolate if you're listening. Completely my bad. Yeah. Any evidence of the distance of the sun? Brushing past the accidental booting of Chocolate.
Skippy is not a wallaby.
Yeah, Darwin. It's not.
Masterpiece.
It's not. Not definitely not. No.
I did it in the pre-show, Owen.
Nobody cares about Skippy. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
We're going to need that for that.
Three
Hooray,
kangaroo
Chocolate managed to join. Yeah, I accidentally denied entry to your Chocolate, sorry.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
All good. No problem.
Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius?
Prostitutes, hookers. Pearl, that is such a great
Black
movie.
one.
Everybody, just like her, everybody
Fresh
wants to...
grown flowers. Can you go on mute, please? Ask one of the moderators is all over him. Okay, one of the commenters, I think he might have been in one of the members' video, I can't remember, but somebody was asking, they're like, I'm new to this. You keep mentioning that you've debunked R. What's the significance? Or what do you mean by it? I think he was just asking in general terms, or she. What do you mean by you've debunked R, and what's the relevance to the globe Earth claim? Now, underneath, somebody pointed out the modus tollens, which is a good start, you know, to say to the person that the radius of Earth has been debunked based on the geometric claim of a hill getting in the way. Okay. But I'm hoping that you guys on the panel will help me in expanding on the relevance of R.
Can't we go old school? So you've asked the first question, any evidence of the R value? I remember, maybe if we can have a tacit acceptance that there is none, you could ask the rest of the housekeeping questions, and we'll show you why you need R from all.
Okay, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon?
You're going to need R for that.
Any evidence of axial rotation?
You are going to need R for that.
Yeah, without an R, there is no axis.
What about scientific evidence of gravity?
That requires an R value.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
M1 and Einsteinian and M2 and Newtonian.
In the nonsensical claim of the ISS, because it's further away from the center of that mass, its R value is greater.
Yeah, but that doesn't automatically imply a radius. It just implies
it
a
does.
distance to mass.
Yeah, to the
Right?
centre of the mass, the centre of a spherical mass. Yes, radius is absolutely required
Exactly.
in G.
Center of the mass, or
Yeah.
just where the mass is?
No, distance to the center of the mass. That's how. Yeah, you're going to need that, aren't you, to calculate what the supposed gravity would be based on the size of the ball. Remember, if you go to the moon, it's got a smaller R value, got a 6 of the gravity.
Yeah, you are going to need R for that. The only one that you can
Okay.
nitpick, Arwin, if you want to get fussy about it, is the next one, which is any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
You are, in most likelihood, going to need R for that.
Agree.
Nobody in that
you're-
field knows uses the scientific method. So
Well,
Adam's
if they
answer.
were-
Adam had enough time to think about his answer. Just repeat your answer, Adam. He had enough weasel words and it was perfect.
I'll do it again, Owen.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
yeah, nobody in those
Not
fields
you, bloody
understand-
hell.
uses the
Bloody
scientific
hell.
method.
It wasn't subtle in the
No
slightest.
fault.
I said, Adam, really good answer. Can you repeat it? Adam says, go on. Can you repeat the question? So I do.
Oh, I thought you said Arwin. So
Adam. I forget it.
I thought that Adam said
most-
Arwin.
I did.
But in the most likelihood, you're going to need R for that, is the best answer you can possibly give. Because anything heliocentric that's going to be asserted to be a scientific hypothesis-based claim is going to be utilising the R value upon making any claim that's in reference to a sphere. But you can't just say any scientific evidence from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics and immediately just say you're going to need R for that. Because what if they don't? Well, they will if they're
One
going
of
to talk about a sphere.
They might try and move it away and discuss, say, 2 stars and say how far they are. If they're going to use them, then they're going to be describing the SI unit as an astronomical unit. That astronomical unit requires R to be derived. So even if you're not talking about the Earth and you're just looking at stuff in the sky and you're trying to describe distance, you're still going to use R as your determinant for the ratios.
Yeah, Adam, it would be safe to say that any phenomenon they're going to describe will require an R value, right?
Yes, exactly. Well put. Just going to do Sensual Goat's super chat in hopefully the tone that he was hoping when he wrote it. And it's an announcer for a football game, which is to say, Jesus saves, Moses misses, the rebound, and it falls to Rooney, and he scores! I think that's what he was going for with that super chat. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Sensual Goat.
I don't know why Arwen is fighting against this. You're going to need R for Arwen.
You are. Right, there's only 50 people watching. Did anybody
Well, I
actually
do
share
have
the
a
show?
radius value.
Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Go on, Alwyn, sorry.
I was just saying, like, that's fine because I do actually have a radius value.
Okay. Any evidence that it was an Earth-based radius measured from a physical Earth that was spherical in nature, Arwin?
No, I don't have an Earth-based radius to me as a person.
That's all we're
I'm not
interested
that
in.
big.
No, that's all we're interested in.
Are
Malt
you a
9 core?
sphere, Arwen?
Malt 9 core? You're going to need half of that.
It was 10th man that said it was R in Arwin. Not me.
I've got to get some control of my panel. What about the Malt 9 core? Any?
You're going to need R for that, aren't you?
You are.
It's an obvious one, that one, I'm afraid. You're going to need a number of different R's to get your different
That's
layers.
where you would have to go to measure the R.
Well, yeah.
So, so who's been there again?
Let's see what we get for as a response to this next
no
one. So, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
If you use R there, you'll never get the measurement.
Good answer.
Yeah, you just make it flat first.
Tangent plane.
Tangent to what?
Tangent to the surface.
Wait, there, I've got one. If you if you take it back to an equatorial plane at the center of a presupposed ball for you to navigate, you're still going to need R for that.
Did you follow that? If your assertion is a tangent-based horizon, I mean, what is it now? Atmo Day. But that aside, then what you will eventually do is transpose your tangent plane down to the equatorial plane so that you can use the celestial sphere to navigate. Therefore, the transposition from tangent plane to equatorial plane still has a necessity for a spherical R value. Not that it's required for the navigation process. You don't need to put your flat plane in the middle of a sphere where you're not standing so that you can wrap both a globe that you're not standing on anymore and the celestial sphere around it. I mean, that step's not necessary. But if you did, as you're inferring, then you're going to need R for that, I think is Adam's point.
And for a tangent can only be drawn to an R value.
He wouldn't say that, though. I was hoping to lead him there. I just was unsuccessful, John.
So not a tangent plane then.
Well, no, because the differential, if you're doing dip correction, which is a tip that Brian's currently on, and rightly so, is the differential between two parallel planes. So that dip correction isn't tangent to a sphere. It's the correction between two parallel planes, eye level and surface level, if you will. So that isn't a tangent.
Right. But that's how they're going to, when they say tangent plane, that's what they're talking about. If you were like standing on a ball, right? And you could draw a line of sight tangent to the edge of that ball, the circumference or the radius.
Yes, I appreciate that,
To
but
figure
that's one step along the process. If you're contextualizing it within celestial navigation, you first got to acquire an elevation angle measurement. So if you're going to say, well, no, I'm going to acquire an angle with reciprocating zenith angles, well, that doesn't work in terms of the acquisition of the elevation angle in the first instance. Now, fair play, you can be a fundy and believe you're living on a sphere and transpose those angle measurements onto a sphere. But to suggest that that's where your starting point is for the acquisition of the angle, it's back to the original question. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
And the guy said tangent plane. But for you to have a tangent, you will need a radius value.
So you're going to need R for that.
Yeah, I'm with you, John.
But to get a radius value, you need a flat surface to get the elevation angle from.
Exactly. So step one, if you're going to get the radius value from the surface that we're going to claim that the ball is, then you're going to need a flat plane to get it. Right, Chocolate?
Now, if you're going to claim you're on a
Yes,
ball,
sir.
then you're going to claim a tangent to the horizon, which is, you know.
No. You missed what Chocolate's saying. If you're saying if you're going to claim you're on a ball, yeah, well, to claim you are on a ball, you first got to acquire your R value, and you're going to need a flat plane to do it, is Chocolate's point. Like
Yep.
before you claim you're on a ball, well, why are you claiming you're on a ball? Well, because you've got the measurements of the ball. Well, where have you got them from? Well, from measurements off a flat plane.
Not
And around
necessarily.
and round we go.
I mean, not necessarily.
That's true in Al Biruni's case.
But we're not talking about actually the Earth at this point. We're just talking about if you were standing on a ball, like a big ball, right? Then that geometry would work. Drawing a line of sight to a tangent on that sphere, you could figure out the size of that sphere.
That's what I was agreeing with. But to do that, you are going to need R.
Correct. It would have to have an R value.
But wouldn't that be non sequitur to the question? Because the question was about using a curved adjacent to get an elevation angle from.
Yeah, they've segued onto
this is
the...
the response.
Yeah, they've segued, like the Globers they're impersonating, they've segued past the question straight into their fundy belief that they're on a sphere as a starting point, which doesn't negate the question, because the question's about acquiring an elevation angle from that ball you think you're on. Now, you might say, oh, you'll need an R value. Well, yeah, that is still true, but let's just get an answer to the question. If you're going to start the process being on a ball, how do you acquire an elevation angle then?
But you can't. That's why the initial statement was R would be detrimental to that process.
But
Well,
no,
we
the response
shifted
was
straight to a
the response
tangent.
was tangent plane.
Yeah, because you can't answer the question because the question's too well formulated to give anything but an answer that you can't. So the only way out of it was to go straight to a tangent, and then you can waffle for ages, can't you? But like I said, ultimately, even with that waffle in this case, you are going to need R for that.
Define tangent plane versus tangent line. please.
It's the plane you're creating from your assumption that what you're angling to is the leading edge of the sphere.
Well, if you're doing a tangent plane, you are at that observer. As that observer, your feet is at the highest point of that ball.
Not really, because I've got to recognise that tangent plane I'm creating has got nothing to do with the surface.
No, it does. It does have something to do with the surface.
Hold on.
That's not correct. Hold on, Neil.
No, I failed as a baller there. I'm sorry.
It does have something to do with the surface. You can deny it, which is what they do, and you've done an excellent job of denying that your claim about the surface and being a ball shape has nothing to do with the surface. That was excellent. However, it does claim to have a point with tangency that exists below surface level. So while you say it has nothing to do with the surface in line with an anti-flat earther, it is in existence in the maths below surface level. Earth curve, that is.
Now that we've done all the different ways you can bash your head in with a shovel arguing against this, can we move on?
I think so.
Have we done them all? Have we done all the housekeepings?
Well, we haven't done any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no evidence. And we have to answer that guy. Yeah, but you got to explain to the person now, after we answered all these housekeeping questions, why? Because they're still not going to get it.
Well, that was
I thought that was what we demonstrated.
that was the sentiment in the
They're not
pre-show,
going
wasn't
to
it?
get it.
The appeal to motive fallacy, which is to say, if you can show a second law of thermodynamics violation taking place when they claim there's a sky vacuum, and your opponent turns around to you and says, "Why would they lie?" You're perfectly within your rights to say, "Couldn't give a crap. Makes no difference. The sky's not a vacuum." What's that? You now concern yourself with the people that you once believed and now are questioning. Go question them. Ask me about their motivation in lying to you. What, you recognise they've lied to you then? Now that you recognise the sky's not a vacuum. Don't ask me why they've lied. I don't give a toss. I don't watch NASA. You think I'm concerning myself with why they're lying to you? No, they're lying to you. Go ask them if you're so concerned about it. And do you know what they'll tell you?
No.
They'll tell you, "No, space is real." They'll lie to your face. Now, carry on going to them and appealing to them so they can keep lying to your face. That's bashing your head against a wall. Dealing with narcissists. Just put as much distance you can between you and them. Then they can't lie to you anymore, right?
No, I was just hoping you'd wrap it up and say, basically, you're going to need an R for every single one of the housekeeping questions. And Earth is not a sphere. There is no demonstrated R anywhere, ever.
What we're
Well,
doing?
With the gas pressure one,
I
even
just
if
did.
there was an R, you would still need a container.
It's a bit like any evidence from the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics in the respect that their subsequent response will require R, because they're going to talk about atmosphere, sphere-shaped air arbitrarily taking a sphere-shaped value, even though it's got no container.
That's it. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson did it, the effect of gravity causing a decay on the orbit of gas molecules exhibiting gas behavior. And for that to occur, you're going to need an R value.
Yeah, my
Here,
younger brother Joseph, he even said it. What do you mean by R? I don't understand. What's R? So it is a dilemma for the common folk out there.
Well, it's their R that they should know, because the common folk out there think they live on the globe that necessitates R, and they don't know what it is. So this is exactly how they want the populace to be. But I have a question. You know it's pseudoscience because they go against natural law.
Yeah, the sky vacuum is a violation of natural law. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space.
So this is a real good way of conveying this whole concept of science and pseudoscience. Is saying, they're telling us we're on a ball with an atmosphere, oxymoron, etc. And said, but science has to be validated, right? Yeah, science is validated. I believe in science. Great. Well, if you're going to violate natural law, and say you have science, then that is pseudoscience because you just violated natural law to have your opinion on this thing. And that's all it is. It's got to follow
Yeah,
line
but
natural
natural
law.
laws don't really go under the scientific method, so it
No.
wouldn't be pseudoscience. It would just be fake news. You know
No,
what
I'm not saying I'm not saying that natural law is the science. It's the buffer for all science. You can't be saying things that natural law debunks and call what you're saying science.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right,
But
almost
yeah,
there.
but I think the reason you can't call it science isn't because it's trying to demonstrate in opposition to natural law. The reason you won't call it science is because you observe these things and look at what underpins the claim. It isn't the scientific method. There's no empiricism. There's no experiment to support it, to make it science. And then it's that, when it's claimed to be science, that makes it pseudoscience.
Correct. But the point that you're going to say entropy no longer exists so I can have my ball and gas pressure next to a vacuum, you're already in trouble.
Sure, but I think there's an overarching point, which is to say that there's a mechanism that's utilised when it comes to natural law, where they relabel it, they call it scientific law, and that's very deliberate. The reason they call it scientific law is because the laws of nature are just descriptions, and if you can strap on the notion of those descriptions being scientific, then when you offer a description of a light in the sky and give it a cause, it'll seem like it's perfectly justified or valid because it's the same as the things that occur always in the form of natural law. Well, if that's called scientific law now, then that's science, isn't it? Well, it occurs always, it's empirical, it's definitely always going to happen. We're always going to have gas dispersing into availability of volume. It's a natural law, it's science. No, it isn't. As Adam just said, it hasn't gone through the method. But when you call it science, you can then call other descriptions that you make up science as well, and less people will notice. Yes, Nathan, very good point, well made. Thank you. I thought about it a lot. Right, we're going to cover this video. This is Johnny Harris, who's, wow, he's got a bunch of subscribers. He's got 3.75 million subscribers. That's a lot of people. And yeah, he's talking about why we all think Earth's flat. Stereotyping fallacy after stereotyping fallacy, which we've covered a little bit of in the pre-show. So feel free to check that out, or become a Nathan Oakley 1980 today member today if you want to check that out before it comes out next week on the second channel, which is Nathan Oakley. Subscribe today to my second channel if you didn't want to pay to be a member and you did want to see the uncut and after shows. So, as I say, we've got about a couple of minutes into it already. Unless there's anything anybody from the panel wants to add before we get into this, I've put a link to
I do.
Okay, I've put a link to his video, so go and check him out and let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 channel sent me. Flat Earth Debate reacted to your video about why people think the Earth is flat. Love your work, etc., etc. Go ahead, Neil.
Did you say this guy has almost 3 million subscribers? There's something wrong.
Almost 4.
There's something very wrong.
What do you
Nearly
mean?
10 million views, the video, isn't it? Did I see?
Yeah, these are all the views that I would be getting if I had any
Right.
sort of promotion whatsoever within the subject that I cover as a specialist in the subject. But this Johnny Come Lately has just literally made a random video about it, presumably off topic for him, and he'll get 10 million views for it, because every search result when he published it will have gone straight to him and not to me.
If it gets to these numbers, Chocolate, I want expenses for this show.
If we get to these numbers, you want expenses from me? I'd happily pay.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If this show gets to 10 million views, yeah.
Oh,
That's it.
yeah, I want to pay.
Yeah,
I'd be
you can
happy
be on a
with
salary.
a free. I'd be
Yeah,
happy with a free membership.
Don't have many
Can I buy
expenses,
stocks in the
I'm
show?
Sorry, what's that from the peanut gallery? You're not getting paid. What was that? No, go on, whoever that was, seriously. Or don't, just leave us hanging. That makes for good YouTubing. Anyway, I'll put a link to his video. You can probably see it whizzing by now. If not, I'll put it in now. And as I say, go to his video and just say, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, if nothing else. Because hopefully he'll return the favour if he was to respond to me and say, no, whatever nonsense you pulled apart that I said or you claimed I said isn't nonsense because of XYZ. But check out Nathan Oakley 1980's video. Here's the one I'm responding to. There's a link in my info box where he's so kind as to repay the favour. But there you go, his link's there. Help him in the algorithm, as I would hope to be helped in the algorithm also. Ah, man.
And how do potentially millions of people believe that the Earth is flat?
Okay, so it's not a belief. So your globe belief is based on a model that's been derived from measurements taken off a flat Earth, my friend. So, I mean, this might come as a shock, but Earth's measured, navigated flat, and your model of a globe came from those measurements. The grid system, the latitude and longitude lines, you don't have those without a flat Earth. Mapping them onto a sphere to then put them onto flat maps, yeah, project them back out flat. That's so that they work with the angles that originally made the models, including your globe. Your globe model requires a flat Earth. As an advanced heliocentrist, I understand that. Now, obviously, you're an amateur covering flat earthers. Here on Flat Earth Debate, we are advanced heliocentrists. And we tell the amateur heliocentrists who are scratching the surface of this topic how their globe belief came to pass. But the measurements of Earth, they're not a belief. You're in a category error. And it's not agree-disagree when it comes to how things are measured and how your globe was made. What's that, you still think it's a sphere? No, the notion of a sphere came from measurements taken from a flat plane. Shocking, isn't it?
The water is completely flat, as far as we can see and as far as we've measured, and the horizon is completely flat.
I'm in Mexico now.
Okay, so the two statements he made. Water at rest finds and maintains level. And the horizon is the derivative term for horizontal. So I don't really see any objection in what he said other than the incomplete nature of water finds and maintains level at rest. But other than that, where's the contradiction? Where's the, no, that's not right. Where's that?
I've been sitting on the beach reading everything there is to read about the history of people who believe the Earth is flat.
So you've been reading a history of people then? Yo, wouldn't you find it a bit more beneficial to read a history of geometry if you're trying to figure out, oh, obviously my bad. Yeah, it's automatically assumed to be wrong, so you're looking into the psychology of the people. Yet meanwhile, Earth is navigated and measured flat, and your globe faith belief is based on a model derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements taken from Polaris to give you latitude lines that then get mapped onto a sphere to then get rolled back out flat onto maps to use with navigation angles that are measured off a flat plane because Earth's flat. But you're going to go and look at the history of the people? That seems like a stupid place to start, given that you're talking about a geometry of the Earth, an aspect of Earth, or in your case, a belief about a shape of Earth. What's that got to do with the people? It's got everything to do with geometry.
But hold on. Look how he described it, right? He was talking about the horizon, right? And how they support these crazy flat earthers think, you know, the horizon's completely flat. But yet he's now at the beach reading about flat earthers, except instead of actually looking at the damn horizon that's in front of him at the beach, that's flat. This guy like some type of a psycho.
Yeah, it's just he's putting the edit.
It's in the background, and you could see it's flat. But then he says what he says.
That's what I'm saying. No, now he's at the beach. Like, that's the worst place you could possibly be to try to have this argument. Are you serious? Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, that's the only place he can start because, I mean, he can't start with measuring it because then he would prove Earth is flat. So he has to start with something obscure.
And there's one thing that I just had to try for myself.
Oh, he's going to do something practical. This should be good.
This is a simple experiment that aims.
Oh, God. D. Marble talking about experiments, giving us all a bad rap.
Everybody can conduct to determine definitely that the Earth is flat. Grab a spirit level and take.
No, you don't need to grab a spirit level. The principle of a spirit level in and of itself would demonstrate that water is used to establish levels. That's the name of the tool. Now, regardless of what D-Marble says next, the measurements that are used to map the globe are taken from a flat plane. It's the end of the argument. Now, don't get me wrong, this is probably taken from a pre-sextant / elevation angle argument / even Black Swan, potentially, because this is 3 years old. Well, the Black Swan argument came out 1st Jan 2020, so there's a good chance that D-Marble didn't know that. And I'm not knocking him either. I am. Because he called it an experiment, and that was definitely pre-2020. But Daryl, you should be paying more attention. No, I'm only joking.
Take it on the plane with you.
117. Found this hardware store, bought myself a level. Gracias, amigo.
Right, that's a principle, though. Why have you got a tool that's available in any shop in any part of the world that establishes with a water bubble that you've got a level, horizontal? Yeah, that's a principle in geometry, though, isn't it? That's why you've got tools for it. You know, if you applied the geometric principle that allowed you to have this tool in the shop in the first place, you wouldn't be needing to put the application of the tool to the Earth, because one of the principles used for Earth to be claimed to be a sphere or flat is that we have level. And there's the tool in your hand proving it. So this is totally redundant.
One of the stranger things I've ever done.
And I'm bringing it with me on the airplane. I'm going to do some of this empirical science myself.
All right, Dumbo, glad you said it. Empirical science would be the establishment of cause and effect by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis.
If you are to fly on a non-rotating Earth, please explain what kind of experience will a pilot really have.
The logic goes that if the Earth is round and I'm flying thousands of miles, which I'm about to do, then the airplane will have to be tipped a little bit the whole time in order to make it around the curvature of the Earth.
Adam, knock yourself out. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, I assume this was where he was going to go, even though it's with D-Marble, and this is a valid point. I'm not sure how you demonstrate it with the spirit level so much, but it's about reorientating yourself if you claim you're on a ball. So it's not just a matter of dealing with altitude. It's a matter that plane uses gyroscopes to maintain a straight line vector, which is how it will fly. As it traverses the ball, the orientation of down from the initial vector path changes with respect to the curvature. So a 0.09 degree change for every kilometer that's traversed. Now, you need Brian for this bit. This would have massive impacts because the direction of down is changing, but the plane is flying in a straight line vector. So there's two ways of looking at it. Either the plane would fall out of the sky because of aerodynamics, or reality, you'd feel like you're tilting further and further and further back in your seat, and because down is changing direction. This is the point I think D-Marble's, or that's being exemplified here. In most cases, they'll just tend to deal with altitude, but that's, I assume, what he's going to try and poo-poo. It'll be interesting to see how he negates this reality of traversing over a ball.
Okay, we'll see where it goes with it. Shout out to Uncle Ben. He says, oi, oi, with a smiley. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
The plane should be constantly dipping its nose forward in order to compensate for the curvature.
Show me some planes doing this.
I would be able to see the tilt of the airplane if I put my newly purchased level on the tray table in front of me.
I'm going to take my spirit level onto the plane.
If my tool shows me that the plane is totally level,
that's proof that the Earth is flat.
Let's go see what happens.
That's working under the assumption the tray table is perfectly level.
Yes, it's garbage.
Tray tables on, aren't they?
Meanwhile, we made the maps and models by way of acquisition of elevation angle measurements off a flat plane. The equatorial plane is still used with the celestial sphere, which is not a globe we're standing on. And if you want to claim that you're standing on a globe, you're going to transpose down that plane to the centre of a globe that you're no longer standing on if you're navigating. So you use a flat plane. Further to that, the reason they've got that tool is because Earth is surveyed and built on flat. So I don't see the point in this.
Yeah, Nathan, not only is the equatorial plane used there, but it's used in alt-az, altitude and azimuth, which is the sextant way, the horizontal coordinate system. And it's also used with the equatorial mount telescope, where they use the sky as the map and instead of the Earth, which is the alt-az. So, which is observer dependent, whereas the equatorial mount is based on the equatorial plane. So everything they use is the equatorial plane.
Shout out to Iron26, who's just gifted 5 memberships. So I think they've all immediately been snapped up. Elvis Kavovic, Celeb Ruckus, Flatten the Curve, Do You Not See, and Tom. Welcome to Nathan Oakley 1980 membership. Check out my video on Veritasium that's going to be released over the weekend. It's already available to members.
Somebody explain to me duty-free. Why perfume? Why is there so much perfume in duty-free?
Why not look at geometry? Why not do that? I still don't get this labouring the point of this. You see validity in this, Adam? I didn't get quite.
I'm not seeing I heard a decent beat in there. Maybe he's trying to get people to write some lyrics.
Just let it play out.
All I would say is skip back 5 seconds to the plane taking off and look through the window and see how curved that flat runway is. Look at that. Look at that curvature.
I don't like curvature.
What, 100 feet. Look, through the window. Can you see? It's not straight. It's... Now that might be used later on. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted it noted that you can see the bend, even though we're at a funny angle in the lens and the window.
Four hours on an airplane, and I'm back.
Okay, take your bets. What do you reckon his conclusion will be?
Well, he's never going to see the aeroplane tilt forward, which hopefully would be what he's looking for. Aeroplanes don't fly like that, so I'm not sure what his conclusion can be. How he's going to...
I got it.
Go on.
It's going to be, since the tray table appeared to be level the entire flight, and level is conforming to the curvature of sea level, therefore the Earth was following level.
So he's going to. So we've got one vote for. He's going to make a gravitational assertion that is always perpendicular to the center of gravity. Is that correct? That's your vote, John?
Well, I don't know if he'll go that far, but he's going to assert that it was conforming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll accept that.
A less complex version of what I said from you. Okay, fine. Anybody? Somebody at my door.
Yeah.
Can you talk amongst yourselves for 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'll address that. If he does raise that point, then he's invoking that, fair enough, the spirit level does that. I didn't take a spirit level. I took an accelerometer to take those readings. And more importantly, the pilot uses another tool called a gyroscope to set his artificial horizon, so he knows, and that stays the same. That there can't be a claim that as we traverse the ball, the gyroscope gets realigned by gravity, because that is in contradiction to the way in which the gyroscope is supposed to sit in free space. So it would oppose that, and that would be my rebuttal to him if his whole proof is that because he's using water, it just means it's equidistant from the center of a ball and it's realigning itself. So it's just non-noticeable. It was so small.
It wouldn't be mine. It wouldn't be mine. Number one, it's a stupid damn beat. Number two, he's not giving you pedigree information. I know. Shout out to Chocolate. He's not giving you any pedigree information. How fast is the plane flying? How long is the trip? Right? Once you get that pedigree information, then you jump on the Globe Terminator website and you put it to the test, you clown. You don't need any friggin' gadgets to measure this. You can just use yourself, right? Is the plane descending? First, define curvature, you numpty. I got to hold back.
No swearing, please.
I do have all attitude this morning.
No swearing.
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah, but I don't know what you'd said. I've only just sat down, but I assume you would have.
No, your assumption would be wrong.
Okay.
Hold on a sec. We were guessing what stupid claim he was getting ready to make. That was what we were doing.
That's where I left off. That's good, because that's exactly where I left off. There's just been a few other guesses that will, you can say you can claim them, even though I won't know if you're being truthful.
Little level experiment worked wonderfully.
Yeah, we've already covered this. It's not an experiment. Might as well clarify for him again in case he responds. And if he does, I would hope that he would put a link to my video, like I'm putting a link to him, helping him algorithmically, even though you're eating my lunch in regards to these views that you've got on the subject that we cover as a specialist subject. But nevertheless, I'm going to share your link with everybody in my chat and encourage them to leave a nice comment that includes the fact that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to Johnny Harris in regards to why people think the world is flat, as per the title of his video. And, should he respond, hopefully he'd do the same for me. Right. So where were we? It's not an experiment. Let's let you know, though, Johnny, what an experiment actually is. So an experiment is the actualization of a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is a suppositional statement that establishes the cause, which you will vary to prove it is actually causing something, of an effect that you've observed in nature. Now, a hypothesis also has a null, which is to say that your presumed cause won't cause the effect, and that's what offers its empirical nature. You said the word empiricism earlier, and we didn't really cover it. The method, science, has empiricism because in the hypothesis, which is actualized by experiment, you have both a null and an alternative. The alternative is to say that you vary your presumed cause and it does cause the effect, and the null is you vary your presumed cause and it doesn't cause the effect. The two are mutually exclusive. Both can't simultaneously be true. Therefore, when you vary your presumed cause of an effect, if it causes it, you invalidate the null, and if you don't cause it, you invalidate the alternative. So there's an empirical outcome to the method of science when you perform a, quote, experiment. This isn't that. Yeah? This is a clown show. And now what I did catch from QE was there was no legacy information. Now we might get that, it might be forthcoming, we don't know, but I'm going to assume it's not going to. And QE's bang on. He typically has never been wrong yet. Let's just see.
The bubble stayed nice and center. Turns out the plane was not dipping its nose in order to make it around the Earth. This is explained by the basics of gravity.
Yeah, because the Earth's flat.
So,
Gravity.
Sorry, wait.
I got it.
You're right.
Okay, yes, John, you called it. Why the hell did you do it then, Dumbo? Did you need to get on a plane or even by a spirit level if you're going to say that the outcome is that gravity's pulling it to the centre? Like, how did gravity do that when it's not a force? Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, just scroll back down. Or not, let's just click on it. I think that works too. Yes, it does. The real question was, is Skippy a kangaroo, a wallaby, or a brand of peanut butter? Answer in a jiffy. We don't have Jiffy here. I know what it is. It's peanut butter in America, but we have Sunpat. Jiffy doesn't mean anything to me as a Brit. But thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. Really appreciate the support.
That's why Britain is the empire.
Yeah, can I add something about the tray table nonsense? I think that literally this might be my opinion, but the existence of the tray table concept in airline flight itself debunks the notion that planes are following some type of curvature, right? These tray tables are made to be in their upright position on takeoff and in landing. The only time they're told that people are given permission to take these things down is when the plane has leveled off. Now, that wouldn't work with people being served hot coffee and all types of liquids and stuff on the plane if the plane simultaneously has to navigate curvature. just the existence that we do things like this, like serve hot coffee on a tray table on a plane that's supposed to be negotiating curvature, it's ridiculous. It does not exist. Just to me, just that concept right there debunks the notion we're on a globe.
How many times have I told people, don't worry about taking a level, just order Sprite or some liquid through the see-through plastic cups. And when they go to level flight, see how it looks. And it's always level.
Hot coffee.
Sure.
Well, that
The
burns.
thing that's objectionable so far is that he's postulated that in order to negotiate a sphere, you'd have to dip the nose around it. Now, in terms of the physics of what would occur with the plane as it traverses a spherical surface, it would, as he declared at the start of this experiment, have to dip the nose around a sphere. That's what he declared. Now, when it
That was his
doesn't...
hypothesis, wasn't it?
Right.
At the beginning. And this was my objection. He says, I'm going to do this, and it's a sphere if outcome is this. It never dips down. Yeah? And if it's flat if it never dips down. If it has to dip down constantly, then it's a sphere. Then he does it and goes, look, it didn't dip down, and that's because it's a sphere because of gravity and physics. Appears to be his... That's naughty, that is.
Well, it is naughty, but
as you said, what's the point in doing it?
It's no
naughty, it's retarded.
Oh, yeah.
He answered his own question because it's not a sphere. Simple.
Didn't ask the question.
Go on.
D Rose
And
did.
dip down. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
D Rose, not D Rose, D Marble made this statement, and he was supposedly testing it in this cluster screw claimed experiment. But when he got the results that D Marble suggested he would get, now he's invoking gravity.
Correct.
Which is why when you nipped away, Nathan, my rebuttal would be put the gyroscope in the plane. That isn't. He might try and invoke equidistance from the center of ball for the water behavior, but that is not disproven by the gyroscope, which is what the pilot's using to maintain straight and level flight. That doesn't change, and he doesn't adjust it for a realignment of gravity.
Right. He's got about 5 degrees up in his artificial horizon.
Exactly. That should be changing as he traverses because the gyroscope's fixed in free space.
Right, no problem. But what we don't know, we can't condemn him now because we don't know what's coming up. He's just, he's only just done his opener. That this is explained by the basics of gravity and physics. Full stop. Okay. So he's going to explain it now, isn't he? He's going to tell us exactly what gravity is and how it completely just does away with his original assertion that he went in with the level 4. I mean, he didn't need to do any of it. He could have just said, no, I already know what's going to happen because gravity, and here's how it works. But he's choosing to do that afterwards, so he's going to tell us how that's working now, I assume.
And physics. This video is not a debunk of flat Earth theory.
Right, what's going on? What happened to just being told about what gravity is? Oh, sorry, it's debunked by the gravity. We're going to need to know what that is. Not tell us how this isn't a video that's debunking flat Earth theory, because you don't know what theory is. Yeah, theory, if you've just mentioned experiment, which you absolutely bloody well have, would come after the experiment. So you seem to have the order right. After the experiment comes the theory. Yeah, you didn't do an experiment. But if you had, that's when you'd get your theory after your empirical outcome. But what's that? The outcome that you had in your bastardized nonsense of a hypothesis was that you'd have to dip the nose down and you didn't, therefore gravity. All right, is that how science works? I predict it will work like this, and when it doesn't, I'll invoke something that I don't detail. That was never mentioned up until now. Well, wow, that's wonderful. You just need to tell us what gravity is, really. Go on, whoever's trying to talk through me.
Well, yeah, there is no flat Earth theory, and just the news flash there. Is his name Johnny?
Yes.
Oh, brother. There is no friggin' flat Earth theory, and there is no sphere Earth theory either. That's the news flash. There's no sphere Earth theory because it's a category error. He just exposed himself again. He's true.
You know, Johnny is here in the UK.
What?
It's a prophylactic.
It's prophylactic.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's just on meanings of words, Nathan. In that Godzilla's super chat, he said jiffy. It's not, this jiff is the peanut butter, but jiffy's a short moment in time.
Yeah, but that's what he was punning about.
There was a bit more. I had to look it up, but it is actually an SI unit. For physicists, a jiffy is how long light takes to travel a distance of 1 femtometer, which is a millionth of a millionth of a millimeter. That is actually a unit of time now.
A jiffy? No way, I did not know that. Did you know that, QE?
Negative.
I didn't know that. Wow.
I feel dumber for knowing that now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a jiffy that has nuts.
Well, that makes the little cliche in a jiffy make a lot more sense.
It does. Not only does it lend more context to the super chat, it also lends more context to why the word jiffy would be used to denote a very short period, right?
No, because I think the physicists followed the English Urban Dictionary. And I did a little search as well to see it comes from Hindi. So it's a jiffy is actually Hindi for that'll be quick, a very short amount of time. So I think it's an English adaptation of a colonial word that then is used in the English language, then gets adopted by physicists, just to give it a name.
Also a franchise for oil changes.
Okay, Banchoed.
That doesn't need to happen. That shouldn't need to happen. What this is my fascination with the fact that there is lots of people, let's put it this way, a non-zero number of humans who think the world is flat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we covered this already. No. Your belief in a globe is derived from measurements taken from a flat plane. But your focus is on the people who you're under the misapprehension believe it's flat. Yeah, there are people out there that don't know it's flat. Yeah, there's a lot of them. We're not that, though. So, respectfully, as an advanced heliocentrist, you are unaware that your globe faith, and mine, is based in elevation angle measurements taken from a flat plane. That's how you get your latitude and longitude lines to map them onto a sphere surface, to then project them out onto a tube, and then roll the tube out flat so that you can use it on the surface of Earth with elevation angle measurements taken from a flat plane like the models were made with. So, no, your fascination with people and their beliefs, yeah, the whole flat Earth notion's been orchestrated that way, with a feast of nonsense assertions given to the people who come across the subject to regurgitate for you to be fascinated with. However, I personally hope that the people behind me would label themselves accurately so as advanced heliocentrists. That is to say, we know more about the globe than you do and are happy to declare it to you. You being the ignorant one who doesn't understand your own belief in a globe, where we understand the origins of the globe and its flat plane. That's the origins. Okay? Hope we're clearing this up now. Who's got the belief and who's got the measurements?
And they work really hard to prove it.
No. Earth measured flat with elevation angle measurements taken to the stars used in navigation. Models of sphere utilizing the concentric circles to Polaris taken with flat Earth angles. Those would be your latitude lines. Yet those then get mapped onto a sphere after being measured from a flat plane. So we're not trying to do anything. I haven't had to do anything. All of the citations that I've had in regards to this, I've not dug up. They've come from books that are written by heliocentrists, like us. We're just more advanced than you in our understandings of the globe. Yeah? Those books, also written by globe believers like yourself, assert how the measurements to Polaris off a flat plane are done. And how if you're navigating the sea, you will require a flat Earth to do it. Now, those aren't working hard. It's already there for us. I didn't have to do a damn thing. It was brilliant. Did someone want to add something? Oh, it's Adam sharing this that he shared with me on Skype. So yes, this is our Haynes manual for planet Earth. So we may have a rebranding of flat Earth debate. Not likely, but for the sake of this discussion. where we become the advanced heliocentrists, which is what we are. That is to say, we position ourselves above anti-flat earthers who are at the bottom of the pile, above flat earthers who are one step above that, above advanced heliocentric priests, that's your Tysons and such, and at the top of the pile, the tip of the spear, is us, because we are disseminating the true origins of the globe Earth understanding. That is to say that your misapprehensions, if you're below the bottom of the pile, that's anti-flat Earth, i.e. just your commoner garden, doesn't know the slightest thing about it, globe-believing normie, then yeah, you're going to have a bit of a shock when you find out from us, the advanced heliocentrists at the tip of the spear, that the model was derived from angles taken from a flat plane. The globe model, that is. So, you know, it's just our advanced understanding of how the globe works, you know, and how people believe in it. I mean, it's funny to us that you think you're actually standing on that model that was derived from flat Earth angles, and when used to project it to the centre of a sphere with the core, or you in the middle of it, burning. I mean, it's ludicrous, but I mean, your understanding is that you're on the surface, which is silly, but that's okay. You're just a dumb heliocentrist, you know, but you've come to the right place. We're here to educate you as advanced heliocentrists, Johnny Harris, and I would hope that my audience would support you in your algorithmic benefit of the anti-flat Earth movement when people do these searches that you highlighted for flat Earth and come across you, not me, the advanced heliocentrist who actually understands how these models and the geometry works when you have a belief in a sphere that's come from a flat Earth measurement.
Understand what sorts of tools are being used to prove the world is flat. So here we go.
I wonder if I can get some really dramatic.
What's your objection? Was it the music?
Yeah, it's the damn beat again. It's stupid.
What does it need? A banjo or something? What's the objection?
What?
I thought it was pretty banging. Let's move on.
Like conspiracy theory lighting going on here.
Seeing all the evidence. What if the Earth?
He's launching into the people, so he's now getting into the idea that we have to brace against with flat earthers and globe believers alike, that there's a conspiracy. John braced against me earlier when I'm talking about the notion of softening people up with the heliocentric rhetoric to come in the future, and you can demonstrate how that's happened in the past, where notions of sphere travel out in space is put on the people, and Arthur C. Clarke came up and Kubrick came up, and then you have the moon landings. Well, that's no different now in terms of what we discussed in the pre-show with softening people up to the idea of parallel universes, string theory, all that garbage, right? Well, this guy's not talking about any of that. He's talking about the people and the conspiracy theory of the belief of flat Earth.
Did he say conspiracy theory lighting?
Maybe.
5 seconds. 5 seconds back.
I can only go 10 seconds with my J button.
Okay.
Ready for the pumping beat?
I wonder if I can get some really dramatic, like, conspiracy theory lighting going on here.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's talking about conspiracy theory lighting. I actually did train in lighting. I did terribly. I'm colourblind. I never told them. Anyway, I'd studied lighting at college. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb, being trained in lighting engineering, that there is no conspiracy theory lighting. I'm just going to go out on a limb.
You've got to set the mood.
You normally talk about colours when you come to lighting. Again, that's probably why I didn't do very well.
Seeing all the evidence, what if the Earth actually is flat? The plane wasn't dipping. The level was flat.
Check it out, man. He's put his own cognitive dissonance on tape. Share your pain. I love it. Oh, man. We invite people to do this, to like share and verbalize in their cognitive dissonance and pain. But you put it on with conspiracy theory music so that, what, as an editor of this piece of crap, you feel that you're going to project that onto us? No, this is actually your own cognitive dissonance. This little dip is...
Hey, good morning. This is Justin with Milgard.
Can you
I
put
was just gonna
yourself
let
on
you know
mute,
we're about
please, die
20
slow? This frown is a worry muscle. Yeah? This is something that the behavior panel taught me. This is a grief muscle that is engaging here as he looks up into the contemplation about what he's about to talk about. But he's edited it together like it's conspiracy requirements, and it was a different scene when he was talking about conspiracy lighting. So the way he's coped with his pain is to think about conspiracy theories as he contemplates his own cognitive dissonance about how he's wrong in his hypothesis, which it wasn't. Amazing.
Okay, I'm kidding. Let's get into this. I've been in the weeds learning about the flat Earth experience, what people believe and why, and
Why didn't you learn about geometry and how Earth was measured? See, that would have been a lot more sensible if you were looking at flat Earth. I know we covered this a couple of weeks ago. To you, flat Earth doesn't even get contemplation of being about the ground. Yeah, it's beyond your comprehension to actually take the words in context and go flat, an aspect, Earth, the ground I'm standing on. So you're into the conspiracy theory and the people and the belief. Yeah, flat, an aspect, Earth, the ground you're standing on. Hello? Do you know how to read and comprehend English words? Because so far you've not covered flat Earth. You got up in a plane. Was that you on Earth? When you were in your plane, in the clouds? Was that you dealing with Earth? Now you got your head in the clouds, figuratively and literally. If you're dealing with Earth, you need to learn about geometry. That's Earth measurement.
where it all came from.
Geometry, Earth measurement.
And here's what I've learned.
I can guarantee it's nothing.
No, I can guarantee it's nothing to do with the Earth. He's only interested in why people believe it. That's what he needs to deal with to reconcile and stay on a ball. He can give himself a good reason as to why people believe it's flat, and he can ridicule that reason. That's probably going to suffice for him, I think.
What is the easiest way to make money?
Ads. Yeah, I think you're right, Adam. I think you've called it already because he's showing signs of it already.
One, flat earthers have become a thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
That bit you ridiculed is very odd, though. To put that in as a spoof of himself, I think he's very telling.
Yeah,
because he didn't address it, did he? He's only said gravity and physics.
Yeah, he just went, but seriously.
Yeah.
You're like, well, yeah, very telling. But seriously, you went on your plane and it didn't curve around the Earth as you traversed 5 degrees above horizontal angle of attack. No, it didn't, did it? What was that? But you already had an answer in going to gravity. What was that? Did you define it? It's the bending of a fourth-dimensional pseudo-Harmonian force space-time that's been devised in the mind's eye of an Einsteinian concept by a man 108 years ago. So you believe that that's what's causing the spirit level to stay level? It's not a force. It's a bent concept in a mathematics, a pseudo-mathematics, labelled such. Pseudo, force space. So no, you think that made the level stay level? No, you don't know what gravity is. I do. But for you, it's just a cognitive dissonance that you put with a bit of conspiracy music on after talking about conspiracy lighting. And then saying, but seriously, let's not worry about that cognitive pain I'm experiencing. And move on to how people believe it. Because for you, you're not even contemplating it like I've already covered. It's not even being contemplated in the literal terminology that you're talking about. That's flat, an aspect. Earth, the ground you're standing on. You got straight up in a bloody aeroplane.
Experience, what people believe and why. And
well, it's got sod all to do with what people believe and everything to do with geometry. How Earth's measured. Your model came from a flat Earth. Your globe belief came from a flat Earth. Let this man know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to let you know that the globe model came from a flat Earth. No, don't tell him that. You'll scare him. But let him know I sent you. You know, give him a like, help him in the algorithm where we don't get it. And hopefully he'll return the favour and put a link to my video if he was to respond, or any of the many videos that we've done that haven't got a response from any of these big YouTubers that can't back any of the words that they say when we respond to them. Now, some of the commenters have said to us, well, do you expect these massive YouTubers to respond to little old you? Yeah, damn well do. Why haven't any of them? Is it because I'm too small? You think they could quash me easily then, wouldn't you? With a really easy comeback. Maybe it'd be like Thunderfoot, one of the only people to have actually done that, where he came back at us with gas go down, go boom, boom, like bouncy balls. Yeah, he found out how humiliating it is to actually respond to us, because then you're asserting that gas behaves like solid bonded bouncy balls, like a complete clown. None of these other dicks in the recent history of us covering their videos have responded to us. None of them. Now you can take that why would they respond to little old me with only 25,000 subscribers just under? Yeah, you could take it that way. But wouldn't it be easy? I mean, they've covered the subject. We've responded. There's been dozens. Surely one of them's got the balls to actually respond to what we've said to them. None of them. That seems pretty telling to me.
Where it all came from. And here's what I've learned. Number one, flat earthers have become a thing just in the past.
Like flat earthers? Flat. An aspect. Earth, the ground you're standing on. Why is it that you have anthropomorphized flat earth into flat earthers? That's people. Yeah, it's a geometry, you clown. You've turned it into people. You've literally... It's very rare that I get to use the word in context. But the anthropomorphization of the ground we're standing on is this guy's cognitive disconnect between him not being able to actually process that the ground he's standing on isn't, as he automatically assumes, to be spherical. Even though I'm here to tell him, and hopefully you'll let him know, that your spherical belief came from measurements taken from a flat Earth. Just the way us advanced heliocentrists understand it, my friend.
He's also steeped. Sorry, he's also steeped in genetic fallacy. This is going to be a long genetic fallacy here.
Explain again. I've forgotten what a genetic fallacy is. I've got to be honest.
He's going to the sources of the subject rather than the actual argument.
This is a historical fallacy. Because it's only been believed for the past 200 years.
So argument to age fallacy.
Is that what it is? Cool. Right.
Okay, so it's a genetic fallacy. If I was to say Rowbotham was a drinker and a womanizer and a gambler, and is that a genetic fallacy?
Yes.
No? Yeah?
And an ad hom.
And an ad hom. Yeah, fine. Okay, but in terms of appealing to the information, it's like trying to ridicule Google. Right, it's as absurd as that, yeah?
Good past couple hundred years. So by like 205 BC, you've got these really smart Greek people making experiments that are like observing a globe-shaped Earth.
Okay. As an example, by what? He didn't show anything globe-shaped in any of the examples. We'll just watch them again, slowly.
Good.
Sorry, Adam, was that something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I said good, because that's why I was just going to scroll back, but I'll...
Yeah, we'll verify if it takes us all day.
So by like 205 BC, you've got these really smart...
That's not globe-shaped. What's this? Does that look like a globe to you?
No, that's a flat map. And
Greek people.
It looks like one of Mercatus, doesn't it?
The dude at a table.
But of course, that isn't 205. That's sort of 1500s, isn't it? A map like that. And we go to a Greek bloke with a table that's flat, and he's giving the OK sign to somebody in the crowd.
Making
another dude. This isn't a globe. Making experiments he's talking about as well. Again, misapprehension about what science is. Hasn't got a clue. Clueless when it comes to science, Johnny.
Can you see the name of that bloke?
Not at this distance.
Doesn't look very ancient Greek, though. He looks more medieval, though, again, doesn't he?
Experiments.
This isn't a globe.
Middle Ages.
What is this? Adam, you'd probably recognise this.
Okay, so in there, yeah, so what this is an ancient depiction of the stars, but what you'll see is the flat plane at the bottom in the centre, and then all the orbits of the moon. I can't remember the order they'll go in there. Moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun. So what you see in here is how they perceive all of the luminaries orbit and in what size their orbits are. So from the center, the moon orbits closest, then Mercury, then Venus, then the sun, then Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and then out to the outer rims. So it's just showing you the layout. And you can see on the outer circles, you've got the zodiac as well. So it's just showing you how they understood the celestials moving above them. Look, it's in a circle above the plane, and then the sizes of the orbit. So they're showing that they're at different distances.
But it's geocentric.
Geocentric.
Yeah, geocentric.
It's flat and stationary also.
Flat, stationary, geocentric.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny, did you not look up what these things were? Right, well, you were sat at the beach reading up about what flat earthers are. Yeah, but then when you flash up this, very quickly the advanced heliocentrists point out how you're showing flat earths and flat maps, and then black and white pictures of dudes. I mean, that's each to their own with that, but, you know, these aren't globes.
That are like...
What's this? Sideways, for a start. Anybody? What's this?
Chakras.
Distance of the sun and moon, that states. So I'd have to analyse it. I think that's what it's saying in Latin at the top. Yeah, it's in Latin, so it's hard.
Like you think you are, Doc Holliday.
Well, I can't even read it sideways.
I don't see. I can see a flat plane in the middle here, but it's only saying the distance of the sun and Luna into it at the top. So I'm struggling to see. I'd have to read it. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. You'd have to also see the dating of that. Like I said, it's in Latin, so it's still going to be a 500-600 years old. Nothing ancient relating to the 2,000 years ago he's talking about.
Observing.
Okay, one of these flashed past pretty quickly. I don't see any globes on these.
If you read the line, so Habitant Forum, if the Earth were 4 square, the shadow would also be 4 square. So maybe this is making a point then that the shadow of the remember turbine hexagonal. Maybe it's making a point that the Earth is not a cube here. If you look...
So the supposition that it's taking apart is if Earth was 4 square, and it's presumably in opposition to that assertion in this depiction, correct?
Yeah.
How does this have any bearing on a globe? What the hell has he put this up for? Yo, Johnny, did you just go to Google randomly? Is this what you got from Google randomly? Is that why it flashed up so quickly? I bet you never expected the advanced heliocentrists to be putting this under scrutiny when it flashed by really quick.
I think assume it's also working under the premise that the shadow, that the phases of the moon is caused by the shadow of an Earth from a radiating sun.
This would also be geocentric, though, would it not?
I can't see anything here, but if you look at it, if you look at what's happening, you've got the Earth between the sun and the moon. So that's all you can say there, isn't it? It's not presenting any.
But the subtitles that are literally being spoken when the diagram's up is like observing a globe-shaped Earth. That's what it says. That's what he's saying.
Well, I would say it doesn't appear to be a heliocentric description of what's being portrayed, even if it's discussing the nature of the Earth. If the assumption is that it's that's casting the shadow, you can see it's not a it's not a heliocentric representation that they've put this model into, is it? It's just, look, Earth's in the middle again. Is there anything else?
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Are we?
Yeah, I think that would appear to be, yeah, okay, so this is the continuation. So if it were a sphere, look, then we would get spherical shape on the moon, look, so as it transposes the shadow as it intersects the moon. So yeah, so it's a claim that the spherical Earth is causing the... if the Earth were a triangular form, yeah, that comes out. So this
isn't this assuming orbits?
1 second.
Yeah, this scheme demonstrates if the Earth to be of a globular form, and so it's as described. It's now suggesting that the sun shadow is what occults the moon. The Earth's shadow is what occults the moon. Which is, of course, incorrect, even in the heliocentric model, because that isn't, is it? It's the alignment positions that causes the phases of the moon, not the shadow per se. It's what bit of the moon in the heliocentric you can see from the Earth and has a reflection point from the illumination of the sun. So this isn't heliocentrism anyway that's being described here.
Okay, quick shout out to Retro Bill, who says, note to Johnny, gates are down, the lights are flashing, but the train isn't coming. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
Unless it's describing eclipses.
Globe-shaped Earth. Over the next several centuries, eventually this would just become the widespread thing among anyone who was doing experimentation on the world.
So you can't do experiments on the world. Now I'll explain why to Johnny Harris. See, the world, that's a concrete noun. It's not something happening. So experiments start with something happening, a phenomena that you want to know the cause of. This is natural science. This is the category that we're dealing with when you contextualize anything with experimentation. Because experimentation, as detailed earlier, is the actualization of a hypothesis. A hypothesis being a suppositional statement that establishes the cause of an effect. That's what your starting point is. Now, if your starting point is the Earth, then nothing's happening. There's nothing to put through the scientific method. You just don't understand what science is, Johnny Harris.
And eventually, nobody believed the Earth was flat. Even
a category error. It's about belief. Geometry, Earth measurement.
And then, like the
surely that's a fallacy, QE. Nobody believed the Earth was flat.
Yield to consensus.
Times, like it was a consensus that.
Thank you, Johnny. My God, I love it when they identify their own fallacy.
The Earth was a globe. So, in short, flat earthers weren't a thing during.
So your reality is based on how many people tell you what the world is. Yeah, that's unfortunate, because that is unfortunately the way the Western world works. Now, there may not be a hidden hand, but people roll around like sheep. The reason people call them sheep in the alt, truth, conspiracy realm, whatever you want to call it, the reason they label you a sheep is because you will believe whatever the majority believes. If they tell you there's a gateway to hell or a parallel universe or strings of other realities, you'll believe it. So long as science tells it you. Because you haven't got a bloody clue what science is. So long as someone tells you, science says there's a door to another realm. Science says we can travel to that light in the sky. Science says the sky is a vacuum. You'll believe any of it. And so long as the most of the people believe it too, you're happy appealing to what people believe. And appealing to what people don't believe in this instance. Oh, people don't believe Earth's a sphere. Why would they believe anything different? Hello? Look at the subject. Yeah, again, this is a humanity problem. Most people, and they've learnt this, don't pay attention to the title on the book. The book's called Flat Earth. That's the book that you're looking at. But you've opened the book and decided to flick past the first 25 sections and go to the psychology of man section at the back. Because that for you is what this book's about, isn't it? The rest of it's irrelevant. And forget the title, because we're not talking about flat Earth. We're talking about flat earthers and their bloody beliefs. No. Earth measurement. Your globe belief came from flat Earth measurements. Yeah, deal with it.
He's not a psychologist. He's not a psychologist. He's actually amateur sociologist with this nonsense. This is amateur night.
Yes,
Again.
But I mean, they have to get us through psychology, right? They want to lock us up. They want to lock us up in the madhouse so that they can win again, because there's nothing else that they can do. That's why it's all ad hom, all whining, complaining about your policies of how you do your show. That's the only thing they have left. when you really push the flat Earth evidence in their face. They can't handle it. So, of course, psychology. All the ballers are now really into psychology because that's the only way they could ever, on the long run, achieve some form of victory in some way.
I've never heard any psychology.
Well, no, they appeal to
Sociology,
our
whatever, you know what I mean.
personality, our wealth level, our social status, our education status. That's what they appeal to. That's what Arwen's saying. That's why he's saying they're all into their psychology. Why would you believe this is an extension of that, isn't it, Arwen? And I totally agree with you.
Yes, because if a person is crazy, then they think it's okay to completely ignore whatever they say because they have an idea in their mind that they're crazy. And that's what they've done with us very early on. It's like, oh, you're a flat earther, you're crazy. So I'm going to put my fingers in my ears now and not hear the arguments you have. We're not going to hear it.
Have you turned your gain right up? Because I said you were quiet yesterday. I think you have. You're clipping.
I'm just really loud, I think.
You're just clipping. That's what I know. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Even though literally in elementary school, I was taught that Christopher...
Okay. Appealed to his education. In education, he was told that it's a globe, so it's a globe. Right? Well, great discernment.
For Columbus and like...
Again?
They appeal
His
to
voyage was-
priesthood, right? What you learn, what you were taught. Not figuring it out, not figuring out whether that's correct, but just going by what you're taught. And if you remember correctly what you were taught, then you're a good boy. You're a good boy. You don't have to think about it anymore. You were right because you remember what you were taught by the priest that told you what was real and not.
I'm just
Not told you how to figure it out, but just told you what it was.
Sorry, I thought you were finished. I'm just going to put this on screen, and I want anybody who's done as I had suggested a few months back, a couple of times, and has populated the chat or the videos of the behaviour panel, right? This guy is engaging what they call a grief muscle in his forehead, right? Every so often, he's engaging this grief muscle. Now, if I hadn't watched the behaviour panel, I would have never noticed. But this is their pain. This guy's got it written all over his face.
Those sun-moon images, I've just done a reverse image search just to see whether they're referenced as 18th century. So not 2,000 years ago, but 250, 300. So they're at the point of the thrusting of the ball, you know. So this is the same time that celestial, the longitude, latitude things, competitions being set up, the formation of the ball in the institutions, the belief in the powers that be, that the way they're setting things up, that it is a ball. This doesn't reference ancient Greece in any way whatsoever. The only thing that he did cite, I have to concede, is, I say, 18th century.
So for Columbus and like his voyage was somehow to prove that the earth was round or maybe it was flat, and that there was like some debate around that. That's actually a total legend, and I have no idea why I was taught that in elementary school. How did that happen?
It wasn't, you dumbass. He was there to discover America, not that to... What the hell is he talking about? What school did he go to?
Yeah, but he's also questioning why was he taught it in school. Like I keep saying, this is his cognitive pain. Really, this is a great video, right? This is Joan in the album. This is going to be. Oh, my bad, Arwen.
It's not being taught in school. What he's saying isn't taught in school. That's ridiculous.
You're missing my point.
Magellan supposedly.
Thank you, Arwen. We got that the first time. Yeah, yeah. My point is that he is like conspiracy cats with haunted house. He's spilling his guts here. This is great. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. Hopefully you will on the re-up when you listen back. You'll hear what I'm telling you.
Actually, I'm genuinely curious. Like, how did that happen? The fact is, Christopher Columbus, the Catholic Church, the Spanish patrons, no one thought the earth was flat. But
Really? So what about all the people who had geocentric models of flat planes? What about the celestial sphere off the equatorial plane? What are you babbling about? It's still utilised with a flat plane to this day. Go and look at what the celestial sphere model is. What do you think that is? Do you think that's a globe wrapped around the flat plane that we're taking the angles from? It's used to this day. My God, this guy hasn't got a clue. You've come to the right place, though. And as I keep suggesting, in the vain hope that people will share my video should they respond, go and check this guy's video out. Tell him Nathan Oakley 980 sent you. Because he hasn't got the slightest idea what he's babbling about. So there's a link to his video in the chat, live stream chat. Just go and tell him. Tell him we've responded. Tell him that he hasn't got the slightest clue. But be nice. You don't want to get your comment deleted. You don't want to scare him off. You know, the amateur heliocentrists.
And somebody asked him what school he went to that he was taught that, because no school in the world teaches that Columbus was out to prove the Earth is a ball. That's not part of the historical fabrication of his story. It's nonsense.
Yeah, but it's part of the lyrics of a song, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I
Really?
think it's an intro to maybe Third Rock from the Sun or something like that.
Oh, you mean from the Big Bang Theory or something?
Something like that.
Maybe it's the Mandela effect.
But it's stupid because it isn't true. Magellan supposedly figured out that the Earth was a ball by going around it. Columbus was only there to find India, and he found America instead. That's the story. I mean, how hard can it be to get that right?
They
In
became
your
a thing.
alternate reality, that might have been true.
Any sort of flat earther movement didn't actually come around, ironically, until
You can't even say flat Earth anymore. It's flat earther movement now.
science was really starting to heat up.
Science is a method. It can't gain or lose temperature. Ugh.
It's entropy, Nathan. Science entropy.
Yeah, entropy, if you're talking about things heating up and cooling down, fine, yeah, no worries. But he's saying science is heating up. Yeah, no, the bullshit stories about heliocentrism are about to heat up about the time of the references that Adam's dug up. So he's gone and had a little look at it on the fly, because that's how amazing Adam is. And he's gone and got your actual piece of information so he can show it in its entirety when you've broken it up into 2 or 3 slides that slid past nice and quick. So, yeah, Adam's gone and researched this from a couple of 100 years ago. You just had it flashed up as a what, seeming like you've done some research.
Yeah, it's a bloke called Johannes Buno. It's a woodcut that's sold as art. It is talking about eclipses. I mean, I don't know whether it's a bit of parody even. It's very odd. Because if you look at what's being postulated, look at the silly shapes. It's but also demonstrates a bit of logic though, because look, on the shapes with flat sides, they've bothered to put a man on. Interesting, they didn't bother trying that on the globe version. But I say it almost reads as a parody, doesn't it? It's a very odd thing. But I said fundamentally, it ascribes that then
It's a
as a
classic
shadow.
It's a classic begging the question argument, because they're assuming you live on a sphere, and then they're assuming that it's orbiting, and they're assuming all these things. They haven't done one bit of science to know what that is. So how do you know the shadow, that sometimes a red color, is the Earth? They're assuming it. So now they have to go there.
During the mid-1800s, a huge amount of scientific breakthrough was happening. The scientific method was taking off.
Oh my God.
The scientific method was a scientific breakthrough? Or is it science?
Well, no, he's now put himself in the awkward position because he's specifically detailed it as the scientific method, where the standards for him it's not just, okay, well, he's just a Dumbo. He doesn't know that when he's talking about science, he's actually talking about this method of science called the scientific method. But there it is on screen with his dumbass face.
And huge break.
No grief muscle at the moment, you notice, right? He's not stressed about this bit.
Breakthroughs in biology, physics.
Science is very soothing, Nathan. Science is
again?
very soothing, very calming. It's science, oh, right? So it's relaxing to him.
Right, but he says physics, but then he says anatomy. Yeah, anatomy isn't science. Yeah, the study of anatomy isn't establishing cause and effect. Yeah, it's a study of anatomy. But he's bundling all this stuff together. Now, biology has got science being adhered to. But you're starting to bundle stuff into science that isn't...
Parts of it.
Say again?
Parts of it. parts of biology and chemistry, not all of it.
Yeah, parts of. Did I not say that? That's what I meant.
Anatomy and mathematics.
Ugh. Not mathematics, because mathematics is mathematics. Yeah, you're bundling all this stuff together. Physics, right? That's the overarching umbrella for science. Because what's physics? It's dealing with the physical and natural world. Now, science, under the umbrella of physics, dealing with the physical and natural world, is the establishment of cause and effect by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis to form theory. After you validate your presumed cause and effect you observed in nature, that's the natural sciences, otherwise known as the scientific method. Now, within that umbrella, or under that umbrella, you do have biology. Yeah? But you don't have mathematics. That definitely isn't under this umbrella. It's in a completely different category. Because that's describing things. That's language. That's not physics. That's not dealing with physics and the physical. Maths is abstract. You're a clown. You don't know the difference of these subjects. You're just bundling them all together to sound smart.
Were taking place. But at the time, there were also people who were becoming uncomfortable with how advanced scientific methods were getting.
Right, advanced scientific methods? No, there's only one. It is the scientific method. Now, people might have got unnerved with the just so stories and bullshit that people made up and called science. That would be unnerving for us now, and it happens all the time. But the problem is most people don't know what science is, like you. Yeah, because you bundled in maths with it. My bad, Neil. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm saying this guy's just frustrating me. You don't know what he's talking about. He's mixing everything up.
Yes, thank you, Neil. Yes, he is. He doesn't know what the words that are coming out of his mouth mean. So now when he details people's concern with the scientific methods, it's like, why is it suddenly plural? No, there's only one. Why are you concerning yourself with these other things, the people around in your story, I ask myself. Well, it's because what's actually occurring around this time is the method that's empirical is being hijacked with just so stories about models. The models that were developed from flat plane measurements that we talked about earlier, one of which is the globe.
These guys were like, hold on a second, you have all these fancy new tools to inquire into the world and to understand reality, but
look at stuff. Yeah? That might conform to the first step of the scientific method if what they use those tools to look at is something occurring, i.e. a phenomena. But no, unfortunately, those tools aren't science. Being able to look at stuff in more detail gives you more detail when you look at stuff.
these tools are getting like too sophisticated and too abstract and theoretical.
Oh no, the scary technology of the day. So what, you're going to detail what the Dumbos thought about the scary technology? Yeah, Dumbos are like that.
They're becoming too disconnected from like what I can see and...
What? Because it's bigger than what you can see when you look down a microscope. Yeah, it must have been very scary for the peasants. And the Dumbos.
Understand and touch and feel. They wanted to bring science back to what it had been for a really long time, which is that like a person goes out...
Like, is this a Valley Girls like? Yeah?
Yep.
Is this going to be you making up what science was back in the day before they all got scared of it? This should be interesting.
Uses simple tools like a telescope.
Oh, really? Science used to be looking through a telescope? So it's the scary world of the big and I can't put my fingers on it. All right, but when they look through telescopes, this isn't science. Could they put their hands on it when they put their eyes to the telescope and looked at the lights? Were they putting their hands on it? Now, that's got a word attached to it. I mean, English isn't your best forte, Johnny. It's called tangibility. Tangible? Were they tangible, those lights they looked at through the telescopes that you think were science? No, science back in the day, Johnny Harris, wasn't looking at lights in the sky with a telescope. Definitely not. It was, and always will be, a method for establishing the cause of a natural phenomena by way of systematic experimentation based on a cause and effect supposition known as a hypothesis, after observing something occurring. That's the scientific method. Now, looking at something through a telescope, if you look at something happening, could just about qualify as observing a natural phenomena, step one in the method. But this is a composition fallacy. That is to say, you are extrapolating out one aspect of the scientific method, in this case observation of a natural phenomena, and identifying as though it attributes itself to the whole? No, Johnny. No, this isn't what science used to be. Maybe if you learned what science is, you'd know what it used to be when they were scared of it in the current vernacular of your story.
To look at the world and to make conclusions.
You think looking at stuff and making up a story is science? No, that's how clowns get deceived. Yeah? If I look up at a cloud and it looks just like a bunny rabbit, and I tell you that it is a bunny rabbit, yeah? Is that conclusive science? Or me looking at stuff and then declaring what it is? Yeah, you see, science has an empirical method attached to it, Johnny. That would be to say that you establish whether or not something causes an effect you've observed by varying that which you assume caused it and seeing if it causes it or not. And in the method, you've got a null. So if it doesn't cause it, you prove your null hypothesis, which is to say you empirically validate the null prediction. That's why science, if you knew what it was, has empiricism attached. Whereas you've just declared, with that stupid shit for brains look on your face, that science is looking at stuff and then making up a story about it. No, Dumbo. Let me educate you as an advanced heliocentrist. Not only is your model derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements, there is no scientific validity to be offered, or can ever be offered, for your model-based reification of a sphere that's come from flat Earth elevation angle measurements. You're in a category error. This isn't science, you clown.
About how the world works. So it's the 1800s. Science is like having its time.
Is this the Valley Girls like reification of having its time? Is it partying it, living it up, having its time? It's a method. Doesn't matter what part of history you employ this method of empiricism. That's actualization of hypothesis to form theory. That doesn't matter in timeline's sake where it's done. It's not having its time. It's still what it was then and it is what it is now. If used, it's empirical. It's not making up a little story after looking at stuff. It's not having a time.
And you have these guys, usually from like the
US and the UK. You're back onto anthropomorphizing science into dudes. What is it with you turning stuff into dudes? It's getting a bit worrying. It's the second time. No, science doesn't need your anthropomorphization. Love using that word. No, science isn't dudes. It's a method. It's not dudes from the US and the UK.
US and the UK who want to throw out this growing body of like amazing advancements in science. And
oh, I see. So the advancements in science, and by your definition, that's people looking at stuff through telescopes and telling us what it is with a description. Those are your version of an advancement in science. No, clown shoes. No, people's lives have been saved by way of the development of medicine, by the acquisition of cause and effect reasoning based on a hypothesis. The technology that you have used to produce this video has come about by way of systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis to give an empirical outcome. Now that science has brought forth the technology you're using. I love using this example against ballers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah? Now, that science has empiricism. But you, having not defined what science is, think that there's somehow some amazing advancements going on. What, because you're talking about your bloody globe faith? Yeah, it's pathetic. Yeah, well, those are not scientific advancements. But what they are is advancements from a flat plane measurement to the globe that you're going to be reifying pretty shortly. Those are the advancements that you're talking about, Dumbo, while you anthropomorphize science into men.
And they start to do experiments.
No, really, what's an experiment? Maybe you could define this term for us, like I've done and will do again now. An experiment is a hypothesis test. It establishes, by variation of an assumed cause of an effect you observed in nature, whether or not your assumed cause will cause the effect. So when you vary something you assume causes an effect you observed in nature, that is an experiment. Now, you're not going to define it. You think advancements and experiments have come through looking through telescopes, like the old school way of telling stories.
Here's what those experiments look like.
Oh, here we go.
So it's the summer of 1838, England, up in the county of Cambridgeshire.
Oh, here we go. He thinks Bedford level observation is an experiment. What a clown. Now, let me guess. He'll lay out the hypothesis just by way of predictability, because these clowns are often very predictable. He's going to lay out something that seems like a hypothesis, right? And then when the hypothesis is shown to be correct, he's going to tell us that refraction is the cause. Now, bearing in mind from the audience perspective, if you're new here, all I've had given me so far is England and Cambridgeshire.
Which literally sounds like a place in The Lord of the Rings. So it's the summer of 1838, and the atom had just been discovered, and the Doppler effect is like being fleshed out. And then you've got this guy. His name is Samuel Rowbotham, but he goes by the pseudonym.
So, Doppler effect? That sounds like you've got half a hypothesis, you know, science being the establishment of the cause of an effect. But you're thinking that science just tells you what effect is. You know, any clown can go and see something happening and describe it like an effect. You know, the real majesty of science is establishing the cause. But idiots will assume that when they get a just so story or a description of something happening, that somehow there's some science going on. Oh dear.
Parallax, which is actually a pretty dope name. Like, if I were a DJ, I would totally go with, like, Parallax. Anyway, Parallax decides, even though all this science is happening...
Do you think he knows why he's called Parallax?
I was going to say, he wouldn't have the guts to mention it, would he?
Yeah, he doesn't know. As far as this dude's concerned, Parallax is just a cool DJ name. Does he even know what the word means? Why would he call himself that? Why would that be is it pseudonym? Is that what you call it?
Yes.
Yeah, why would he go by that pseudonym? Yeah? What does it mean? Maybe you should have asked yourself. No, clearly not. Surface level. Scratch the surface. And what's the surface got to offer? Well, just a cool sounding word that you could go by if you were a DJ.
He thinks it's time to reopen up the debate about...
It's not a debate. Already been measured. Your model came from elevation angle measurements taken from a flat Earth. It's not a debate.
His model that doesn't exist.
Say again?
The model that doesn't exist.
You want to put that to him as a question, just in case, heaven forbid, he should respond with a link to my video.
I don't think he mentioned model just yet. I may have missed that because I was getting up and taking care of some stuff. But if he's mentioned model, there is no globe Earth model. Now, they state that there is one, but we've been asking for about 7 years to see one, and it hasn't been forthcoming.
About whether or not the Earth is a globe, which was like literally settled thousands of years earlier.
By your examples that were a couple of 100 years old? As
Argument
evidenced by what?
fallacy.
Go on, Adam.
Sorry, no, it was me. I said argument to age fallacy. He didn't demonstrate shit. He just showed a couple diagrams from antiquity he didn't know the meaning of. This is surface level puke, like you said, from amateur night. This guy's a clown. Unsolicited, by the way. He just, this is all unsolicited. He just come out to show his clown shoes. Thanks.
Right, it's 136 people watching, so I'm going to shameless plug. Please share the show. Smash the share button. Let the world know what we are doing here. So far, we've done dozens of responses to people just like this, and not one of them has had the balls to actually make a response video. So, the reason I keep saying, here's his link, I'm putting it in the live stream chat, is because I want him to reciprocate. I want him to do the same. I want him to respond. Now, obviously, I can only do that for every single one that I make a video about. And if the response from the Globers, as it has been, is, why would somebody so massive care about you absolutely annihilating their claims and taking them apart at a fundamental level? Well, I don't know why somebody who, if I was wrong, could easily quash me, why they wouldn't respond. Yeah, it's because they can't. And I'm going to keep asserting that. And when people get these little tramp stamps from me that say Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, let that tramp stamp be what it is. A message to these people that we've absolutely annihilated their stupid surface level puke, as QE just described it, which is what it is.
But he's like, no.
As
Good.
I was going to say, as advanced heliocentrists, would it be behooving upon us to grade him upon his understanding? I mean, as a conclusion, his understanding of his own religion?
Oh, definitely. You know, we are in the privileged position to be educating the, you know, the lowlives, the people who don't really understand what they're talking about, that are disseminating it to the masses, and really should have a much higher standard and responsibility when they've got 3.72 million people listening to their garbage that's wrong. You know, they should have it pointed out that Flat Earth, the title of the book, and what it says in terms of your video title, World Being Flat, that's the ground beneath your feet in an aspect. And all he's done is babble on about men that he's anthropomorphized.
Let's do it.
And he finds this canal system that is incredibly straight. This canal goes on for almost 10 kilometers, like 6 miles of just a straight line. This guy says, if the Earth is a globe, and people say it's 25,000 miles in circumference.
See, we've already got the principles that are used for building stuff like canals, and the canal itself has water in it. What is a canal? Well, it's water that's not flowing, right? So it's all level. So there we go. What more needs to be said? It's not conforming to the shape of the surface of a sphere.
Funny thing about canals is they tend to have things called locks. Because water finds its own level. Sometimes you have to create a new level with a lock based on the premise. Yeah, there's no curve in there, is there?
Right, but he's talking about why people think the world is flat, and he's talking about what he thinks is an experiment that starts with the premise of Earth being a sphere. So, I mean, I don't know about you, we've covered Bedford level on one of the other videos. I don't know if we should cover it again in this, because we've already put all of our arguments on one of the previous videos.
Cover it. Cover it.
If I look at a straight line, after the first mile, the curvature of the Earth would mean that the canal would now be 8 inches lower. After 2 miles, it would be 32 inches lower.
See, the problem here, Johnny, is that somehow, being a surface dweller in terms of your research ability, you've failed to recognise that what you're drawing in diagrammatical form is the side of our own head as the observer being on the left and the target being on the right. So we are side on to the canal with a physical geometric limitation to our view in the form of what? 10,000 miles of a sphere in this depiction? Right, okay. You don't observe the world like this. And the reason your maths for a sphere Earth is presented like this is because an inch or meters value won't change with distance. Whereas in reality, if this was representative of a view that we actually saw through a telescope, like the old school science, you know what science is, but looking through telescopes, we don't see a side profile of a canal. We don't see the side of Earth curve. And we don't see the side of our own head, which would be depictable here on the left.
Well, let's bring it back to the airplane. Right? Look, he's got his little 8 inches, number one. What's number one mean? 1 mile? I suppose. Number two. This guy's a friggin' knucklehead. So put that drawing back up. The plane would take off, and then you'd get dropped. Right? Remember that, Johnny. Where was the drop? See, you've only gone 2 miles. Let's say you've gone 500 miles. What would that drop be? So wouldn't the plane have to negotiate that drop? Sunshine. He's clueless. Absolutely clueless. Thanks.
Yep.
I would like to see how he derived the mathematics for this 8 inches per mile drop.
He'll need R for that.
Show how it.
He'll need an R value for that.
No. Well, he's going to use the differential between eye level and sea level for it.
Correct.
So he'll need 2 flat planes.
Okay. So this line, if you want to call it a tangent plane with the presupposition of a dingleberry Earth dangling beneath the surface level, they have, if they're going to draw a tangent from a viewing position up here somewhere, a tangent-based horizon that is actually below surface level. So if you're talking about the obstruction, you've got to have yourself in this position, literally leaning back on your ankles if you're the viewer in this diagram. Nevertheless, what is actually taking place is tangent to you standing up straight, which would put the tangent plane where I'm drawing it with my mouse. And therefore, this line becomes the tangent to the geometric horizon. And that tangent is below surface level. Correct? John?
Yeah. Yeah, and they back engineered that differential between the two flat planes to give them their curvature. So I don't know if he understands that.
Again,
also, you're prematurely anticipating the side-on view. I don't think you're anticipating an angular size issue.
No, I'm not anticipating an angular size issue. I'm just saying that once we're into the dissemination by him of what Rowbotham has to account for, the mathematics for the assertion has the diagram in orthographic view. Well, what we will be shown through the lens of Rowbotham's telescope is not orthographic view, it's perspective view. But in order to hijack what Rowbotham actually sees in the telescope and convert it to globe earth maths, you have to, as he has done here, only because his globe earth priests have given him this as an example for him to make, an orthographic representation to exclude perspective. So he may not have any perspective-based arguments, but it's still an orthographic view to make the maths work for the Rowbotham claim to be debunking refraction.
Do you think Johnny's smart enough to understand that?
No, he's just taking this off the page.
Yeah.
After 3 miles, 72 inches lower, meaning like 6 feet, almost 2 meters.
Is that Valley Girl 6 feet, right?
And so on. So he thinks eventually the dip from the curvature of the Earth would be so great that you could
eventually the dip would be so great
easily observe it.
It's great.
When people
he flashed past it. He flashed past it and then an ad started, so I'll have to go back and pause it. So he shows the perspective view for a fraction of a second. But I'll have to buzz past once I get past these adverts. But yeah, he does show a perspective view that would have been in the diagrams on the examples for Rowbotham. I'll show you. I'll pause it. Hopefully you'll get to see. Here it comes. He's going to flash them up in a second. See if I can pause it. Oh, all orthographic. And then, what's this? This went by pretty quickly, Johnny. I wonder why you didn't dwell on this view. See, this is representative of what's being seen through the telescope. Now, through the telescope, whatever you're observing is getting smaller as it gets further away. That's an angular representation of things getting smaller with distance, aka perspective. But in order to hijack that effect and have the effect described as Earth curve, they change this view, which is what you get down the barrel of a telescope, and turn it into an orthographic view that removes all aspects of perspective to call them Earth curve. So, he's flashing past these incredibly quickly.
Gets in the water. He puts a telescope right...
Does he? He gets in the water and sees the side of his own head? See, straight away we're into the hijacking of perspective by putting it into an orthographic view in his diagrams. So, this is the side of a telescope, my friend. Now, I stopped on the diagram that showed what you'd see down the telescope itself that you only had on for a fraction of a second, but now we have the long-winded description in an orthographic view that we're not seeing. No. When Rowbotham looked down the telescope, he did not see the side of his own head, my friend. Definitely not. Whatever gave you that idea? Why would you be drawing this like that? Because, according to this diagram, Rowbotham saw the side of his own head. No, he didn't. Shout out
in the telescope.
Why is it with my door? As soon as I'm going to shout out the super chat and then see who's at my door. Shout out to Retro Bill, who says, obscure word of the day. Blaskerite. Can't even say that. A person who talks fondly at length. Okay.
Now, blatherskite.
Blatherskite.
A person who talks foolishly at length.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. So, Retro Bill, shout out to him. Super chat. Obscure word of the day. Blatherskite. A person who talks foolishly at length.
How you say that?
Blatherskite.
Blatherskite.
Skite. Like shite.
So I said. Skite.
Blathershite. Change the word.
Blathershite. That's a bunch of
Why does this Why does this blatherskite need to be named Johnny though? Like, why can't you have a name like Adam or Nathan
or Chocolate?
Why
Yeah,
am
or
I seeing
chocolate.
the side of the telescope here? Am I supposed
Is
to
that
see
like-
a full telescope?
Or 10?
Is that like, yeah, is that like gazoon type but different?
What?
Blatherskite. Is that like gazoon type in a different language?
No, it's Blatherskite. I renamed it.
There's no urgency with delivery drivers. They're like, no, I want a photo with it. Yeah, okay, I'm running a live show. Just give me the parcel. Anyway, right. Thank you very much to Retro Bill.
Picture. If he's
Don't know where
handing
my
it to
wife's
you, he didn't
disappeared
have to take a picture.
My bad, Neil. Go ahead.
I'm saying if he's handing it right to you, he does not have to take a picture.
Yeah, maybe. I don't care. I just wanted to get back to my seat and carry on with my live show and thank Retro Bill for the super chat, etc., etc.
What is he into? Delivery law now?
Let's not dwell on this. My God. Okay, right.
Change subject.
With 123 odd people watching, which I'm very grateful to have. Thank you very much, first and foremost, to all of you for tuning in. So thank you very much, obviously, for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the super chat and all that good stuff. But I'm going to ask you, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Is my camera working? Yes, it is. That's it. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!